Now we've come to the southern end of the 400-acre tract that Joseph Caldwell lived on as a settler in Sandy Lake Township, Mercer County, Pennsylvania. I'm standing here beneath this beautiful walnut tree. You can see the walnuts up in the tree behind me. If you look way back into the field, you might be able to see where the corn is growing. And in front of me is a little clearing of land that would have been just right for a little cabin. And this was Joseph's task after he came here in 1798. As I mentioned earlier, he filed one proof of settlement certificate in 1802, but hadn't fulfilled the complete 5 years, and so he filed another proof of settlement certificate in 1807. And on that certificate, he explained that he had raised 8 acres of grain, cleared 8 acres and raised grain, and he had built a house and a barn, and he had lived on the land for at least 5 years. And so that made it possible for the North American Land Company to complete the process and pay the fees and gain a patent or title to this 400-acre tract that we see here. That happened in 1807, and 1808, and in 1808, later that year, the North American Land Company gave Joseph title to 150 acres out of this 400-acre tract, and then they could use the rest for resale. So that was a pretty exciting time for the Caldwell family. It's also exciting because 1808 and 1809 is right when Jane Caldwell was born, right about the same time that her dad was getting title to his land. Not long after that, the children were christened in the Rocky Springs Church in 1811 that we visited yesterday, and then along came the War of 1812. And we know that Joseph's brother Matthew served in the War of 1812. And there's a good chance that a lot of the men helped in the militia because we were pretty close to Erie, not far from here, where a lot of the war action took place. After the War of 1812, there was kind of a depression, an economic depression in this area. And we don't know if that's kind of what prompted so many of the brothers to leave, but between now, the War of 1812 and 1820, pretty much all the brothers moved on to Ohio. And that included Joseph Caldwell and his family. The interesting thing about this piece of property is the deed that Joseph received was not recorded until 1822. So we're not really sure if the family came back or if the next owner just recorded the property at that time. But this kind of concludes the time that we have here with the Caldwell family in Sandy Lake Township, Mercer County, Pennsylvania.